You're playing Red Dead Redemption 2? So good, right?
Red Dead Redemption 2 is a towering achievement in video games, and that certainly hasn't been overlooked. The amount of detail that can be found feels unprecedented. Jaw-dropping landscapes abound a backdrop of memorable characters with razor-sharp dialogue and performances that rival contemporary movie and television dramas.
Mrs. Downs, thank you for your punctuality. Next to godliness, isn't it?
That's cleanliness.
I'll have to take your word on that.
It's a gorgeous game, truly stunning. But once the thick veneer of hyper-realistic graphics and immersive gameplay starts to wear, can you confidently say it's fun? I can say I had lots of fun playing this game, and now that the hype dust has settled around this undeniable piece of art, I'd like to delve into the things that bothered me about Red Dead Redemption 2. And for me, it mostly boils down to replayability. Replayability in a game is what separates a good game from a masterpiece. There are so many games I've replayed over and over again simply because they're still so fun. The first Red Dead Redemption is one of those. I've probably replayed Redemption 1 close to a dozen times. Returning to Red Dead Redemption 2 after completing the story, I have very little desire to keep playing. And this is the most glaring difference between the two I've noticed. What is it about the gigantic, epic sequel that isn't so fun upon a second playthrough? The example that jumps out to me the most is the overall mission structure. Whether it be a story or side mission, tedium is the name of the game. In the game's attempt to immerse you, it requires you to play out situations in real time. Mostly every mission begins with you riding from point A to point B, with someone usually alongside talking to you. Gameplay-wise, this means holding one button and moderately steering. This game has you doing this a lot. The first Red Dead had a couple moments like this, but allowed you the option to skip long rides and get straight to the action.
It's not far now. Are you ready?
Ready for what?
Red Dead 2 wants so badly for you to have an authentic experience that these options no longer exist. The fast travel has been neutered. In 1, you could set a destination anywhere on the map, and a stagecoach could take you there. In 2, you can only travel to towns and camps you've already been to, and unlocking fast travel from your own camp will take time and money. While the details are vast and often impressive, I believe that sort of obsession can obstruct what makes a game an actual game. Something you play, acquire skill doing, and relish in the victories amidst rising difficulty. Every action the player performs feels like an engagement into an animation, rather than direct button-to-action gameplay you'd see in a game like Mario. There's real weight to the movement, and mostly every action has a corresponding animation. Often, these tiny details can be fun and interesting, but other times it can feel like complete monotony. For instance, if you ride your horse through water, your weapons can get dirty and rust over if you don't clean them, making them less powerful and less accurate. Cleaning them requires you to pull them out and hold the X button. I get why for detail's sake and it looks great, but why is this fun? Why do I have to do this all the time? Why do I have to hold X to pour a shot of moonshine? Why doesn't the cinematic just do that? Does Rockstar think I feel more like the person pouring the shot if I'm holding X to do it? Again, that attempt to make a detailed, immersive experience makes the controls feel slippery and loose. Attempting to move your already weighty character to the pixel-perfect position you need in order for that action button to prompt the action you want to perform can prove frustrating, to say the least. Reapplying bait to your fishing rod before every cast sounds like another exercise in detailed immersion, but it's things like this that really induces some eye-rolling on my part. Many things like this make me feel like the game doesn't respect my time. And I think that's the problem with not just Red Dead 2, but a lot of modern-day games. Developers and publishers feel like their games need to be a complete time sink for a player to get their money's worth. The days of 8-hour campaigns are gone, and while it's good that games aren't as shallow, I don't think padding the game out to a several-hour experience at the cost of solid, rewarding gameplay is a great frontier either. Just because the game provided me with plenty to do for my dollar doesn't make it worth it if half the things I do aren't that fun to begin with. Many games are hindered in their replayability by making the beginning tutorial moments too long. Pretty much all Pokemon games are guilty of this. It takes so long to get going in the actual game. The Legend of Zelda even seemed to wise up to this by the time Breath of the Wild was released. It's the least bogged down introduction in any Zelda game to date, and it feels wonderful to be able to jump into the game and just play. Thinking of replaying the introductory tutorial missions in Red Dead 2 makes me want to curl up in the fetal position and say, please, no.
Do you all have any idea what it's like to start over? You walk 4 hours through the snow relearning everything?
Another reason some games simply have greater replay value is the incorporation of the branching paths. In role-playing games like Mass Effect or Witcher 3, you can get completely different missions, events, and dialogue simply based on your actions and decisions, resulting in branching paths. You can even focus on different aspects of combat, providing completely different ways to fight enemies. A choose-your-own-adventure style, which I thought Red Dead would surely utilize in their gargantuan open-world game. In addition to never worrying about my weapon inventory for a second, this game operates completely under a do this or fail the mission blueprint. There's only one mission where your actions can branch out into slightly different events, and it only comes at the very end. Little things here and there, sure, but nothing that makes me want to replay the game to see how my experience could have been had I acted differently. In Rockstar's defense, none of their open world games have had this branching path storytelling, but I thought here would be a great way to break out into that type of game. The first moment I realized the game squandered that potential was an early mission where you're asked to save your former lover's nephew from a brainwashing cult. I was thinking, oh cool, maybe I can let him stay with the cult, or let him commit suicide, or even accidentally shoot him and have to take his body back, see the different ways it can play out. But no, either shoot the gun out of his hand during the attempted suicide or fail the mission. I know, this could also just be my twisted mind and what I want to see, but this was a real letdown for me. And ever since that moment, the game felt less like an adventure and more like my player agency had been reduced to a narrow corridor. By the time I reached Chapter 5, I was exhausted, and I didn't even find the cover-based shooting fun anymore. Which is a shame, because certain things like fanning the revolver hammer or blowing an enemy feet away with a shotgun was so palpable for the first few hours, that for it to sort of disintegrate over time was something that shouldn't have happened. Leave them wanting more, and in the end, I just wanted less. I wanted a more condensed experience that I'd love to return to, but instead, Red Dead Redemption 2 became a fond experience rooted primarily in the nostalgia of playing it for the first time. For me, it was a very good game, but certainly no masterpiece.
It's a very good game, but I think Donkey Kong is the best game ever.
Bloodborne, though, there's a masterpiece. I'm on my 8th playthrough of that one.
I got him! I got him! Oh my god. What a fucking